Oh, that's so
Big dog. Mate, pleasure to have you on.
pleasure's
Fellow,
all mine.
a fellow nutter, likes to do crazy shit.
Yeah.
Mate, what crazy shit do you like to do?
Well, I think like in the first place, I think I'm just like cursed with danger. Like everybody's got that mate that kind of drives a little bit too fast on the freeway with, it's not like you're late for anything, but they're driving fast. You're like, what is going on here?
Mm.
I think I got a little bit of that. And you know, yeah.
It's that adrenaline, mate. It's that natural drug, People get addicted to it. That's why you do
Yeah.
like 15,000 skydives or whatever the crazy
Right.
people
Right.
do, right? They just need
Yeah.
more and more. And like, remember meeting this bloke, great guy, by the way, but he would do fucking the skydives with no parachute, and then jump after it and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, where does this stop? And he's like, that's why I had to quit, because it,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop until you end up chasing that casket, right?
Right. That's how it stops.
That's how it
Yeah.
starts. It's just like the free climbers. Now, what's his name? Alex
Alex
Harris?
Hamill,
Hamill.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just no ropes. Yeah.
That's one crazy motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
But
I
also
always
what is
I
life
always
without
like to
purpose?
think I'm like him when I'm going on some of the like sometimes, after the normal ski season, I'll go like try to find some little scary shoot in like with rocks around it. And I feel like I'm a little bit like Alex Hamill, just like, what are we doing here?
So what's that feeling, man?
I think it's just yeah, getting close to that edge of in or out of control. Like
Mm.
I like to tell myself like, oh, I just want to know where that edge is so I can be safer and not get close to it. But I don't know, you always just seem to push that edge a little bit more and a little bit more, and you're like, oh well, yeah, I'll do it without a shirt on this time, or something a little bit, just a little bit more every time, or whatever.
Do you think your capacity for control increases and you can control things at a higher intensity, or do you think you're literally just getting closer and closer and closer to that set point?
Yeah, I mean it. I think with me, I'm a ski racer, so it's
Mm.
kind of like the if I can do something scarier than ski racing, then when I'm doing ski racing, I won't have that scared hesitation. I'll just do what I naturally do. But yeah, so I think that's kind of where it started. But now I'll find myself up in these crazy mountain landscapes, and I'm like, it's like a whole nother thing. You look at these landscapes and you get a different depth perception, and it really makes you seeing the mountains that far away and different peaks that you couldn't even see from like the road you were driving. And then you really get into it and you're like, oh, this is what it looks like. This was way different than I thought. So I
Mm.
think that kind of just shows me how small we are on this planet. It's like, oh, this is, nature's kind of running the show and we're just like doing what we can to enjoy it. But yeah.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more. I think everybody needs to do something that highlights that to themselves. Whether it's just a hike or you're a crazy motherfucker like yourself, skiing down crazy mountains or jumping out of planes or whatever you're doing,
Mm,
right? Do something that shows you that, we might be the main character of our story, but we're not the center of the universe.
totally. Yeah, I
There's
think
a
that's
lot bigger
it
things
too.
out there, man.
Yeah, it makes those quick, some a rock kind of shifts place and you lose your balance, and in that just that little instance where you're like, oh, maybe I'm not in control. Yeah, maybe like I'm not player one right now. I don't know
Hmm.
what's going on, but
Even go in the ocean, right? Like, you know, I'm in New Zealand at the moment on the west coast in the North Island. There's some angry beaches, mate. Some angry
dude,
fucking beaches. The swirl just takes you around, right? And I grew up swimming. Oh, granted, I followed a black line, so I was in a pool, right? Not in the
yeah,
ocean. There's not many
Yeah.
oceans around around Manchester, mate. We've got the Salford locks, but you're in and out of shopping carts and it's black and you probably wouldn't get in, but I'll get in there, right? And I'm like, oh, I am a bitch right now. Like wherever the ocean wants to put me, I'm going.
Totally, man.
There is zero control.
Yeah, I
I
did the east coast of Australia, and it was beautiful, like the beaches are, it's so beautiful and sunny, and nobody was there, but like, yeah, you get in that swell, man. And there was a couple times it was like, I'm tired. I gotta get through the fucking waves. And yeah, it was like, man, should I go back in later? After you get off, you're so exhausted. It's like, damn, and yeah, that's just a normal day at the beach. Like, it's not like it knows we're coming and swimming, and it gets more angry. It's just like, oh, this is just the price of admission. You got to be fit as to even get out of there, if you're and yeah,
yeah,
makes you
man. We
see
think
how powerful it is.
we think we're athletes, right? And then you change that environment in which you're training in or exposed to, and it's just like we're an everyday folk that sits down from 9 to 5 and types into a computer, man. It's like all that fitness that you built up in your specific sport, you
Yeah,
get thrown into a different environment and it's game
right.
over, son. Like,
Totally.
I love it, dude. I love feeling that of like, oh, like you thought you were prepared. Let me show you this one. I'm playing with 3 cards and you're playing with 2. Here you go,
Yeah,
bitch. Like I like that. I was like, well, now you got to figure it out because now it's the top 2 inches, right? It's the
yeah.
it's the mental game rather than I can like kind of force my way out of this one. I can just like smash you in the throat and I'm good. It's like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do with the ocean? What are you gonna do with the mountain? What are you gonna do in the lake, in the forest, right? It's like fucking good luck, son.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you think and in your head, as you draw up the blueprint, it's always way different than in reality. I was
Yeah.
I was just at a public pool, and they had this really cool rock wall that you could climb up and just fall into the deep end. And I
Oh,
was like watching all
cool.
these children kind of use it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go up there and it's gonna be so easy. I'll go right up to the top. I'll probably do a cool trick as I fall in the water. Man, I couldn't even get up halfway. I was like, oh, like I started climbing it, and I'm like, oh, these rocks are wet. It's way harder to hold. I'm like, oh yeah, I only have 3 points of contact. I was like, yep. You always just assume until you get into it and you try it. Yeah, like when you go swimming in the ocean, man, you get like a little mouthful of water when you're trying to breathe and you start coughing, you're just like, that's it. I'm dead. Now I die. You can just like stand up where you are, but you're like, oh, this is it. You just start panicking. It's a big mental game.
100%, man. We're so naive, right? We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be sound. We are the apex predator. It's like, are we?
Yeah,
Are we
yeah.
really? Compared to a rabbit, maybe. But what about the fuck? What about the fucking nature? What about the hurricane, tornado? What about a fucking tsunami? What about the cold? We get cold at whatever degrees. We stick the heating on, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
Never mind about minus 20, 30, 40 degrees Celsius. So what the fuck are you gonna do out there, mate? We rely on these external things. We've become a little bit soft in a way, like resilient in another. But I think the the humility is the most important thing. We need to do something that humbles us every day, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think, we got these opposable thumbs, but it's like all we use them for is scrolling anyways. I think that's kind of where we're going, right? Is we're
Yeah.
more into inventing technology and all that, but and that's why I think that anybody really, a vacation, you go camping, you go get in the woods, and it's like just seeing these mountains or the ocean or animals, nature, it's like it opens up like this other door in our mind, and we're like, oh, like these other animals, they're not inventing iPhones. They're like out, like, you know,
Being
dominating like other animals. And you're like, holy, like I think, yeah, it should really shows us that we went a different route. Our path is going a different way. all the like a bear or something, and you're like, oh, all right, it's a
Yeah.
bit different, but yeah,
I think I mean, obviously it's great. Technology is a fantastic thing, but we have to be aware and conscious and throw ourselves in the deep end, metaphorically and physically speaking, in the sense of, okay, well, we're still attached to this physical thing, this body, right? We're still attached to it. We're not in a computer yet. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that life. Like, I would like to be mortal. I would like one day for this to be fucking ended. I don't want to be in information on a computer screen, and that's kind of it. It's like what is it, Tron? The
yeah,
movie Tron. Fuck that. That's scary as hell, man. But I think we gotta embrace the advancement in technology. It creates a fantastic thing, but then we also have to push the other realm. It's that out of balance, right? We got to find it. Otherwise, we're going to be at a tipping point and fall into
right,
much on the other side. Do we want to stay barbaric and fucking these savages and apes? Probably not, right? Do we want to
yeah,
like completely go into this like digital advancement technology and be these fat motherfuckers like we're in
right,
the floaty chairs in Wally? I would
yeah,
argue probably not either. It's like, well, we could maybe centralize this point and take the good from both and punt the bad, and I don't know, create some sort of weird synergistic, futuristic thing.
totally. And I think it's important, we're, me, we're never, I hate to say never see it, but we're never going to see, let's be real, we're never going to, in our lifetimes, we're never going to see the gratification of what is next, or, even a lot of these problems. I think everybody wants to see global warming, us solve it, and, all these political issues. But I think we are doing what we can to help and to change everything. But I don't know if we're actually going to see the gratification of like the success. So it's this weird thing. It's like with humans, yeah, it's like, are we going towards just our mind in a computer, or are we going to like go back to the Stone Age? Or it's like, yeah, like we'd like to have this perfect middle. And I think we will, but I don't think I'm going to be around to see it. It's like,
Mm.
I'm hoping that I'm helping inspire people to keep their bodies in shape, and show. I think I'm so lucky that I got this superpower, it feels like, to show people not only are you gonna struggle, but it is necessary for success. And it's as simple as that, really. Obviously you got to find the right struggle and all that, but yeah. And it's this weird time where even I'll be on my phone and I'm like, man, I got to get off this thing, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
go do this. But then it is great, I got GPS everywhere, I'm not getting lost. It's like, yeah, it's about finding that middle niche of, yeah, having the edge of pushing yourself, but also like, okay, I got to answer some emails today, and like,
I
like,
gotta do some work.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I think it's keeping that curiosity. I think we got an innateness within us of being curious. What's out there? What are we? What's our place in the universe? All these, existential crisis questions, right? Or even just like, oh, how do we get better? But I've found that the more quote unquote intellectuals that I rub shoulders with, depending on which field they pursue, right? A lot of them go for intelligence and definitions and set in stone, right? But what if we're wrong? If you go so far in one direction, but what if we're wrong? What if we're chasing the wrong thing in the wrong direction? Right? Maybe it's the right thing, but it is the wrong direction. Maybe it is the right direction, but we're looking for the wrong thing. It's like I think it needs to curve. We need to write it in the sand, because twice a day it's going to be rubbed off again. The ocean's going to come in twice a day, go out again twice a day. We need to be a little bit more curious and question ourselves a little bit more,
totally,
right? And that goes both ways. Like the people that are crazy motherfuckers that like to do things physically, need to sit our ass down and read some more books, right?
mm,
Need to sit our ass down and maybe learn some technology, right? But then we
totally,
also need to maybe the techie people need to get out and fucking interact with the world, because once you're taken out of your environment, I think you get a fresh lick of inspiration. We're the type of people that get the inspiration from mountains, lakes, rivers, oceans, but who's to say we don't get inspiration from the other side? We need to be a little bit more curious.
Totally. Yeah, I think that is, I mean, you said it. It's like, I think sometimes we can get caught pulling a mischief on ourselves
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we think we know everything, right? Especially, we got computers in our pockets and we know so much. There's so much technology and you can Google anything, but yet some of the hardest training I've ever done was a year ago when I learned how to do some breath stuff. And I'm like, oh, like fucking hell, we don't even know how to breathe properly. Like, 80-90% of people don't even breathe right. And it's like, yeah, we can make a car and a computer and we have that, but there's some, we don't know everything, I guess, is, that's what I'm trying to say is there's still so much more to learn,
Yeah.
and we might know the technique, but we don't execute it anymore. And you need to put that time in and do these things that, yeah, we kind of like think, oh, we got everything, I'll just have my phone and, whatever, this and that. But it's like there's some simple things that we don't know, and I think people can get caught in that thinking they kind of know everything, and they kind of pull that mischief on themselves and go down the wrong road for ages. And then you're kind of lost already, and or you're so far away from, you know, a baseline that, how are you going to make progress? But yeah.
Yeah, I think we become arrogant enough to believe that the destination is in a straight line. We need to pick a career at 18 and you're just going to pursue that until we throw dirt upon you. You're like, what? What the fuck are you on about? Like, our innateness has a fault. It's called aging. We are going to fucking die one time. That means we are corrupted. We are, we're not perfect. Our
Mm,
path is not supposed to be perfect. You show me someone that says, yeah, I took one route. I was like, I'm going to show you a pretty one-sided individual. They're going to have one perspective that whole time. And I think that's kind of sad, man. That's why I love traveling so much and experiencing different cultures and talking to different people, right? I was like, fuck, well, where are you from? What do you do? Like, why? How do you think that way? How do you feel when you think that way? What happened? Like all these questions, right? Because it molds a character. And that's what we
yeah,
are. We're a frigging character.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
molds us. It needs to be topsy turvy. It needs to go everywhere and make mistakes. Fuck up, mate. As long as you learn from it, is great. It ain't a mistake. I know it sounds cliche. Just do something, man. Like you're not gonna go to the pictures and pay you $15 or whatever, and you sit down and you say, once upon a time, there was a bloke, he had a great life,
Yeah.
he lived happily ever after. The end, you're gonna be like, give me my $15 back. That was shit.
May and that's, I think that is a lot of the world, right? Are
Yeah.
these paths with no resistance.
Yeah.
And those people I think are kind of like running the show. And it's like, everybody has a boss that they don't like. But you get some of those workmates that are running things, and you're just like, how could you have this perspective? And I think a lot of it is that it's they haven't struggled, they haven't, done all these tough tasks to make them, lose that anxiety and lose all these all these things that we medicate now. It's like if
Yeah.
we just kind of struggled and had this like, beauty comes out of necessity. And that's why I think I'm so lucky to be, where I'm at, is because it was kind of like you can either bust your ass or you can, like, submit, and that's it, period. But yeah, I think a lot of those people are kind of running the cog of the world, the people that haven't maybe been through some some struggle,
Yeah.
and they kind of look at you like, why are you struggling? Like, why don't you just go to the spa after work? You're tired. I can see you're tired. Why don't you just go take a nap? And it's like, mate, it's going right over their head. And they're like, oh, all right. But yeah, and that's what I mean with, that breathing stuff and struggle brings success. I feel like it's right in front of our faces, but people don't see it sometimes. And I
Mhm.
think that's, yeah, is because they haven't. And even the people that do struggle and, don't get that success or haven't gotten it yet, it can be tough. It's so much patience and, life sucks and then you die. So it's hard to see that you can enjoy the struggle too. You can enjoy that nice juicy shit sandwich and you can have fun with it or you can be miserable. And there's a lot of miserable people out there. And that there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody, you got to feel your emotions too and that miserableness will turn into happiness.
Yeah, dude. I think if we take away the adversity, we take away the discomfort, then we're doing people a disservice.
Mm,
Like we're supposed to ebb and flow from, despair to divinity and back again, Timbuktu and then all the way around again. Like
totally.
around the world in fucking 80 emotions, right? That's what we're supposed to friggin' do. You're supposed
Mhm.
to have a toolbox within you to be
Yeah.
able to know, oh, okay, if I hit rock bottom again, I'm gonna be all right. It's gonna be real shit for a while, don't get me wrong. Like really fucking shit. But hey, we're gonna get out of it. And then if I
Yeah.
reach the bloody peak of the mountain, you gotta have the foresight to be like, you're not the frigging king of the world, mate. There's going to be some things that's going to happen. It's going to drag you back down to earth. So enjoy the time, and then
Yeah.
prepare for when that punch is going to come and smash you in the
Oh,
face.
totally.
Because it's coming, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally, man. Now, as you're driving down from the mountain, your car breaks down. You're like, all right, here we are.
Here we go, baby.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
started. It's the rule of threes, right? My mom used to tell me growing up, son, like everything comes in threes.
Yeah. I've heard this before. What is it?
It's you get one bad thing, you get a second bad thing, you got to hunt for that third one. The next thing
Yeah.
you know, bang, the third one comes. You're like, great, that's my
That's
three shit ones. Now we've got three good ones coming.
totally.
Dude, it's happened to me so many times, man.
And everybody's got, that, oh, we almost crashed our car today, probably would have died. Like everybody's got those little instances. And it's, it's, it's interesting how quick we forget them as well. You
Yeah.
just, go on to, oh, well, I'm going to a, party this weekend or whatever. And you forget, some lorry truck almost ran you over on your push bike and you're like, oh yeah, that did happen. But and when those bad things do happen, it's like mine. I was lucky enough where mine was just such a blessing and it was basically the best thing that ever happened to me. But you gotta think about how those change people and what they do to them. And I think a lot of times when people have those, they try to avoid it the rest of their life. But
Mm,
it's almost a good thing. It's like, and you almost, yeah, like you said, they come in threes. You almost want to go get the next one then and
mm.
get them over with. Cause if you're going to be hiding or you're going to be worried about getting hurt or something like that, that's when it's going to happen. Cause I think we don't realize how powerful our minds are and how we really can control everything. And especially in our bodies, where you can control everything in your body with your mind. And, you gotta go through stuff to find that out.
Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah. Yeah, my story.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was 20 years old. I'd went to one year of uni, my freshman year. I went on a sports scholarship. I was always into sports, and that was kind of always my dream. And when I was so I'm 20 years old, right after my freshman year. I grew up on dirt bikes and motorbikes, so I was 19. I'd gotten a landscaping job. I was making a little bit of money. So I bought basically the biggest, fastest motorcycle I could. And like I said, being cursed with danger, I was always, maybe not doing the speed limit everywhere I went. And this was a Friday night, and all the kids had come home from uni, and there was a big party. So I went out, and that Friday, my boss had called me late around like 9 o'clock Friday night and asked me if I wanted to work. And I loved working and making money. So I went in to do my job the next morning as a landscaper. I agreed to go do that. The morning I had gotten up Saturday very early and my motorcycle wouldn't start. And they call it a pop start or a jump start, where you take a motorcycle and you have to get momentum, put it in gear, and then let go of the clutch so the engine starts. And this took me ages, and so now I'm late for work. So I'm normally I drive fast on this, but now I'm like really speeding. And this was my friend's best. This was my best friend's house, so I knew the road home very well. They say like 90% of all accidents happen a kilometer from your house or whatever, and I think it's true that was the case with me at least. And I'm late for work. I finally got my motorcycle started, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it to work. I was excited. I'm going to work, and there was a little bump in the road where your stomach goes up, kind of like a roller coaster.
Mhm.
And I remember the last thought I had was, I'm gonna jump off this, and I just was thought it'd be fun, you know? And before that bump in the road even came, I was getting pretty close to the edge of the road. And where I'm from in Connecticut, New England of USA, it's very foresty. There's trees everywhere. It's like a rainforest basically.
Mm.
So I'm getting close to the edge of the road. I hadn't I wasn't the most experienced motorcycle rider, and I basically thought I was going to die. I mean, I'm getting close to the edge of the road. I was flying, clearly going too fast, and there's trees everywhere. And luckily, a farm field came up. So big farm came up right in front of me, and last thing I thought was, I'll probably make it to work. And I figured I would walk away. I would probably crash the motorcycle in this farm field, but I would probably be able to make it to work. That was the last thought I had. So what happened is, I'm coming close to the edge of the road. I see this farm field. I was like, oh, sweet, I'll go in here. But the owner of this farm field, had backed his tractor into the telephone pole, and he had to pay AT&T $3,000. So he's like, not going to pull a mischief on myself again. I'll go suss this out. And he put big boulders around the bottom of this telephone pole. And I come screaming into this farm field, and it was like meter, 2 meter long grass. Couldn't see the boulders. I went directly into one of the boulders on my motorcycle, and it kind of threw me spread eagle into a telephone pole that was right there. So I basically hit this telephone pole at like 80 miles an hour, like 130K, and like smashed everything on the left side of my body. And my left leg went around the other side of this telephone pole, and it broke my femur, severed my femoral artery. I mean, it was a bad motorcycle accident. I hit this telephone pole at 130K basically. Super, super lucky that that morning an EMT had gotten breakfast from his mother, and his grandmother, I'm sorry for all the grandmothers out there. Thank you so much for cooking your children breakfast. Because an ambulance driver took a different route that morning to get breakfast from his grandmother. And his grandmother's house was across the street from this farm that I crashed. The driver said he leaned back in his chair that morning and pushed the blind aside and could see me in this farm field with a police officer, because the first responder was a police officer. And normally, if you saw an accident like this, you would probably just call a helicopter to come and get me. But since I had gone into shock earlier in my life through a sports injury, I dislocated my leg. And when your arteries get cut off like that, your body kind of figures out to go into shock
Mm.
so that you're not just bleeding out. So this was the second time my arteries had gotten something had happened, and my body knew that. So I went into shock immediately. So when the first responder showed up, a police officer, I was conscious, able to talk to him, seemed like nothing was wrong.
Mm.
So he didn't call a helicopter, and kind of just actually he took a statement. He took like a page and a half statement of my prior night. And I saw this statement months later, and it was actually hilarious because I was just taking the piss out of this police officer for like a while, like an hour, and I was bleeding, internally bleeding through my femoral artery. But anyways, um, luckily this EMT guy comes walking over with a defibrillator, and right when he got there, I had coded out. I had flatlined, which basically I died right when this guy got there. And he said if he was 2 minutes later, I would have been cold, dead. But, and since he went to his grandma's for free breakfast, he was 30 minutes closer to where he was supposed to be. And he told me not to tell anybody this because it was, he, and like, I don't care now, but at the time he was like, don't tell the papers this because it's really illegal for me to be off my route, like at my grandma's house eating. And I was like, yeah, no worries. But yeah, that was what really had saved my life, was this guy getting breakfast from his grandma, because he showed up and used a defibrillator twice on the scene, like full on clear, and shocked me twice, and then one more time in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. So it was like, I am very lucky to be alive. And yeah, I feel like I, you know, get two lives, and or I just feel like my perspective now is just like, how lucky are we to even be born and get to live
Yeah.
and all that. But and I get like two of them. But yeah, top bloke for saving me. Good on grandma for cooking. I think it was biscuits and gravy. Big
Mm.
big American dish. Oh
Mm.
yeah.
I'm in for that, dude. I'm
Yeah.
fucking there.
Yeah.
I will get in a rubber dinghy and paddle across the Atlantic for that bad boy.
Oh yeah. I got you. Yeah. We'll do it sometime for sure.
Yeah,
We'll get
man.
my
I'll get over to the States. Don't you worry.
yeah, I'll be here.
Brother, that's one hell of a fucking story. I think I do believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe, we have to go through things to be able to develop and see a different perspective,
Hmm.
and that's one hell of a fucking story and one hell of a different perspective, mate.
Yeah, how good is that? I have a lot of other stories where I'll just make shit up and it's like a good story, but that's just a real story, and it's pretty good. So
It's pretty fucking good, mate.
yeah.
Biscuits and gravy, boys.
Oh man. Grandma's biscuits and gravy. And
Mate.
yeah, this cop, he showed me that statement 3 months later because I was actually quite quite illegal. I don't think I was like super illegal. I had my like driver's license, but I didn't have insurance. It was like the first day I'd ridden it that summer, my motorcycle. So he did me a favor, but I think he also looked at it like he almost like kind of made the wrong call and killed me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
he did, because I had to go to court for a big accident. Basically, somebody's got to. No one else was there, thankfully. No one else got hurt. No one else was involved. And I had to go to court, and it was kind of like the judge was just like looking through these papers, like confused. And I think the cop must have wrote a note and just been like, if there's a guy there with one leg, just let him go. Because I went to court about it, and they like flipped and kind of looked at me, looked at the paper, and were like, yeah, you're good, like go ahead. But I think good thing they didn't throw the book at me. But
Yeah.
yeah, super